Well, hello everyone, welcome back. In this video, we will talk about installing WordPress in Kubernetes. First, we will set up Helm. Helm is a package manager for Kubernetes. It is similar to yum or apt command for Linux. Any application can be packaged as a Helm chart. Let's go to the Helm site to check the instructions. We will get these comments and execute them one by one. Here I already have the Helm, so it didn't do much, but in your case it will install the Helm package manager. Let's install Kubeapps. Kubeapps is provided by Bitnami. It's a dashboard where we can install lot of popular applications. Import the repository for Bitnami into Helm. Create a namespace for Kubeapps. Then we install the Kubeapps from Bitnami repository we just imported. Okay, now the application is available in cluster IP. So it's only available inside the cluster. To make it available in the internet, we need to expose it through an ingress. We will try to install Ingress nginx. Let's find the command for Azure. Let's apply this command. This will install the required resources for Ingress controller. Once the nginx is installed, we will get a public IP from Azure. So let's check that one. See, here we have a public IP. If we click that, we will get a 404 because there is no service attached to this nginx controller. Here we have the Kubeapps service. Now we will try to connect Kubeapps service to the nginx controller. For that we need to create a ingress. In that ingress, if you see, we will mention the annotation, the ingress class as nginx, the service name as Kubeapps, and the port is 80. The 80 port is opened on the cluster IP. Okay, first we need to create the DNS record for Kubeapps. It will be an A record. The name should be Kubeapps, and the IP address should be the IP which was given by Azure on nginx controller. Let's pick up the IP address and put it in our A record. Now we have a mapping. So we are creating a subdomain kubeapps.egdeveloper.site, and this subdomain is connected to the nginx controller. Now we need to create a ingress which will connect the nginx controller to our Kubeapps service. We will use the kube control command to create the ingress. Let's check the pods for Kubeapps. All of them are ready, looks like. Let's see the services for Kubeapps. We have a Kubeapps service which is in cluster IP and the port is 80. Now let's create the ingress resource. We should create it in the namespace Kubeapps. Okay, now it is created. Let's try to access the site in the browser now. Here you go. Now we can access, but it is in HTTP port. We want to access it with HTTPS. For that we need a certificate. To get a certificate, first we will install a certificate manager. Here we will install JetStack certificate manager. Here we will use Let's Encrypt certificate authority. The certificate manager will request to Let's Encrypt to provide a certificate. It will use different challenges like DNS challenge, HTTP challenge to get a certificate. We will configure those things later. Let's first install the certificate manager in Kubernetes. Copy the command from their site. Now it's ready. It has created a lot of resources. Let's check the deployments for this certificate manager just to verify. It uses the namespace sat manager. That's easy to find out things. Here we have the pods, all of them are ready and running. First we will need to delete the old ingress we created, because now we are gonna create HTTPS with a certificate. So we will delete the old one and create a new one. In this new ingress we need to provide the TLS host and the secret name. We will give a certificate manager annotation. This is the issuer name. This resource we will create in the certificate manager. That cluster issuer resource will create a certificate for us with Let's Encrypt. Let's create that cluster issuer first, then we will create the ingress. In the cluster issuer, we will provide the email. This email ID will be used by Let's Encrypt. When the certificate gets expired, it will send us alerts. But in our case, we don't need to worry because certificate manager will automatically generate certificates when it is about to expire. It is using HTTP challenge here. The Let's Encrypt server will send a token to the Acme client and later it will verify the same token to check if it is okay. This will be taken care by the certificate manager, so we don't need to worry about it. Let's create the cluster issuer. This is the resource which will guide the certificate manager to request to Let's Encrypt to get a certificate. See the name of the cluster issuer, it's same as the issuer we just created. Let's try to create the ingress now. What it will do? It will create as a HTTP certificate, HTTPS certificate, and it will connect to the subdomain to the service Kubeapps. Check our ingress. Here the ingress is connected to our site. If you see, there is another ingress which is a temporary one which is created by the certificate manager just to request a HTTPS certificate. Let's try to access HTTPS Kubeapps. The certificate is still not ready. If you see the secrets in the Kubeapps, we will find the certificate here. See, the certificate is ready. Here we have the certificate. Let's try to access it in incognito window so we don't have browser caching issue. Here you go, we have a certificate attached to our site. Now we need a token to access the application. This token is will be created when we create a service account for the Kubeapps in Kubernetes. We can use Helm status to get all the information about the application because we used Helm manager to install the application, so you can use Helm status to get all the information. Okay, now let's create the service account. Then we will do a cluster role binding with a cluster admin role. We will connect with the service account we just created for Kubeapps. The admin role we are using here because we want to use Kubeapps to create applications in all the namespaces. So it's easier when we provide a cluster admin role to Kubeapps. But it is up to you what role you want to provide. You can provide on the default namespace or you want to provide in all the namespaces. It's up to you. Now once this is created, we can get a token. Let's try to get the token. We have a big command. I will put it in the link so you don't need to remember it. Alright, this is the token we will get. Let's try to put this token in our Kubeapps application in the browser. Here you go. We are able to access now. Why we are using Kubeapps is because there are too many applications, popular applications. It's very easy to install here. If you see, there is a lot of applications here. Let's see the database now. You see there are a lot of them. MariaDB, MySQL, MongoDB, everything, Postgres, Redis cluster, Cassandra, everything is there. It's just a one click install. It's very simple. We will install WordPress. So let's find WordPress here. We have it here. We can install it. But before installing, let's try to create a namespace for it. It will be easy when you create a namespace to organize your applications. Click the WordPress and deploy. It's just like that. It's so easy. Give a name for our application. WordPress, my WordPress. We will give a admin username. Password we can give, or let the Helm create a password for us. We give our email address. A persistent volume is a data volume which will be created by Azure, and where the WordPress will store all its data. If you see in Kubernetes cluster, we have a storage, right? Here we have persistent volumes and persistent volume claims. Once the persistent volume is created, then the application uses a claim to use that persistent volume. WordPress uses a MariaDB database. Here we have Ingress configuration. We don't need to use it because we will use our existing Ingress controller. This load balancer service type we will remove. We will put cluster IP. If we put load balancer, it will create a new public IP, which is expensive. We want to use our existing public IP. So we will put it as cluster IP. Other things are default. Let's try to deploy now. Alright, it takes some time. It will create two services for us. One is WordPress, one is the MariaDB service. It takes little time to get ready depending on the cluster resource size. Here both the pods are running. Now if you see the services, we have two services. Both the services are on cluster IP. So we need to use Ingress again to put our WordPress into internet. Cluster IP is just used inside the cluster. So all the services in the cluster can use these services without any problem. But to expose on internet, we need to create Ingress. For that, first let's create a DNS subdomain. We will create a record like we created for Kubeapps. It is just same. The name should be the subdomain name. Here it is WordPress, let's say. You can put anything. There is no problem. Just you have to change in the Ingress file. We will put the public IP. It's the same public IP for our Ingress controller. Here we are using only one IP for all our applications. The A record is ready. Let's now try to see the Ingress file for WordPress. If you see, we have given the certificate manager issuer is the same. The host, we change it to WordPress easydeveloper.site. The secret name is different. Now let's fetch the service name. If I remember, it is my WordPress. Yes, let's go. Let's put the service name, my WordPress. Yeah, the port is 80 here, so we don't need to change anything. Let's put my WordPress and try to create the ingress. What it will do for us? It will create as a certificate just for WordPress. It is different from the Kubeapps, the certificate. It will create a certificate. It will put the WordPress on HTTPS and on the same public IP. We can access with our subdomain like wordpress.easydeveloper.site HTTPS. See, here we have two ingresses now connected to the host names. The ingress for the certificate manager is creating the certificate for us right now. We can even check the certificate status. Let's check the status for the certificate. Here you see we have two certificates. Both of them are in a ready state. See, the secret name is the same name we configured in the ingress file. Now let's try again with the WordPress dot easydeveloper.site. Let's see how it goes. Cool, our WordPress is ready. It's the blog site, no? Now we will access the admin site where we can change our blog and see how it works. See the admin site. If you remember the user ID we set as admin, right? Here also you can get all the information. We need to use the username admin. Let's get the password. Do a echo and copy that command which you will get in the Kubeapps, no? So it's very easy. Here you get the password. We can change the password in the Kubeapps application, no problem. Put the password, remember me, login. Here you go. Alright, now let's try to change our post, which is hello world default. Let's put it something different. I made it through Kubernetes. Nice. Cluster. Update it and let's see the post. Our blog is updated now. So here we install the WordPress in Kubernetes. Okay, now let's clean up our WordPress. Delete it from Kubeapps. Let's try to delete the ingress now because we created it outside of Kubeapps. So let's delete it. Now what is left is our namespace. Let's check all the namespaces we have here. See, the certificate is deleted automatically. We don't need to delete. When ingress is deleted, the certificate is deleted. We still have the WordPress namespace. Let's delete that. Clean it up. We created this WordPress namespace in the Kubeapps. We can delete it there also, no problem. Done. It's clean. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for new upcoming videos.